Yes, g'day punters. Welcome to episode 2, we're going to go with season 4 of All In. I'm joined by Dean Watling from deanwatling.com and about various other businesses he works for these days. A man of the people. Dino, how are you?
Yeah, good afternoon or good morning to you again, Gannon. Like you mentioned, it was a good week of racing. I don't know what season it is, season 3 or 4, one of the seasons for us. Back for episode 2. A little bit of a light week this week. We ramp up again next week, but a little bit to review. We had the Group 1 week stakes on the weekend, stacks of Group 2s, Group 3s. 3 of went around, so keen to dive into it, mate.
Yeah, season 3, season 4, doesn't matter. It's all the same. We keep finding winners. They were easy to find, though. Mr. Brightside got the job done. Cylinder got the job done. Colino's 11s into $3 and went like an absolute busted. That was a bit of a shame. Estriella just got done. Before we talk about horses to follow, probably touch on those two horses, Estriella and Colino. They're both probably, to the eye, look like they had their chance, but the way Randwick sort of played into that headwind, Dino, probably didn't get every possible, mate. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I think you make a good point. Those sort of shoot starts down the back that we saw, and they sort of faced the breeze the entire way up on speed. And I don't think we saw a leader or a horse sit outside the leader win all day. So you've got to be really forgiving. And I think that was the track's fault. I think that was more so the wind in the faces of those horses. And we saw horses that could build momentum, get cover, and sort of get those key lane 6 around that lane 6 really run on. But I thought those runs were great. And like you mentioned, you might not have got the result with Colino, but if you're backing horses that are $8 starting, $2.90, whatever it did, you're going to be successful long term. So we can only control pre-race, Gano. During the race and throughout the day, that's out of our hands. So good bet, just didn't get the result there, mate.
Sure is, mate. And horses to follow from the weekend. I'll throw one at you straight away. I think King Colorado will be a horse to follow. I think he'll win pretty much anything he lines up in for the next 3 or 4 runs. What do you got?
Yeah, I like that. He was really good. Luis, they had a hard time in the straight finding any luck at all, and he over-raced. So I think King Colorado, definitely, he could potentially be Spring's Champions horse or even a Golden Rose. Anything 14, 16, 2000, he'll be very hard to beat. The 4 that I wanted to follow, speaking of the theme of leaders that probably didn't get every single chance with the wind, I thought Queen of the Ball was a big drift in the market. She ran exceptionally well, was only beaten by a gun ride of John Van Overmeer. Kiamochi was great in the Silver Shadow. Probably just needs 1,400 meters now. I think Kiamochi will be winning. And Estriella and Princess Grace. Estriella up on speed. I think she might be the best filly to come out of that race. And Princess Grace back towards the inferior inside ground in the wing stage. She was outstanding off 2 really sneaky, quiet trials. So she won second up last prep. I'd suggest she'll be hard to beat second up wherever she goes. So Queen of the Ball, Kiamochi, Estriella, and Princess Grace for me, mate. Right of the day. And then off the back of that, I just want you to touch on how do you think the track played overall? There's been a little bit of talk about it in the media. So give us your right of the day and then how you thought Randwick played.
Yeah, interesting. Right of the day, I think, had to be J-Mac, who just rode that to a T. So we'll share J-Mac with Fangirl and JVO on Parasol. I think they're the 2 rides of the day if they can split it. Actually, you know what? Bugger, we'll just give it to JVO. J-Mac's got plenty.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well done, JVO. Very nice and patient. Rode the horse like the best horse and put it in the best position and was super. Judge it to a T. So, yeah, how did I say the track's playing? Well, it's interesting. A fair bit of talk. Some well-known media experts out there suggesting that Randwick was awful. Well, was it? Tintuki run 1 race 10 from the inside leaders back. Super Bright 1 race 1, I think 2 pairs back the rails. So you had 2 horses there, the bookend the card along the rails. Then you had the average lane of the average winner out of the 10 races. The average lane, I should say, of the 10 winners was about lane 3.2, so call it lane 3 at the 800 meters. So with cover, definitely helped. But I think we've touched on why cover was so important was because of the wind. So it wasn't necessarily to do with the track. So some horses had cover and also won in races 1 and 10. They also had some form of cover as well. And then from lane 10 was the average lane of the winners from the 200-meter mark, if that makes sense to everyone. Hopefully I haven't rambled on too much there. So, yes, they have got to better ground. But Randwick railed true on a soft 6 off 7 traditionally has been lanes 3 to 10. It's been that way forever in a day. And if you haven't worked that out yet, we can't help you because even on this show for the last 3 or 4 seasons, we've harped on about how good it is. And we just keep singing off the same hymn sheet. So if you're not listening, we can't help you. Caulfield, on the other hand, no one's mentioned Caulfield at all. No problems, no dramas. Well, at the 800 meters, the average lane, the lane of the, geez, I'm having a mare here. Let's try this again. Lane 5. Take 2. We don't do that. We do 1 takes here. Yeah. Lane 5 was the lane of the winners there, and then from the 200 meters, that's from the 800, and for the 200 meters, lane 8 is where we saw the winners come from on average. So if we average them out, take all those figures and average them out, so they really haven't played too dissimilar at all, except for the point where Super Bright and Tintuki have come out and won.
Yeah,
and they've been on the inside. So when I say inside, probably lane 2.
Yeah, so what you're suggesting there is in run at Randwick, it probably didn't matter as much. More so in the straight, you wanted to get to sort of those lanes 4 to 6. But where you're talking Caulfield, you sort of wanted to be a lot further off the rails in run and around there, and then getting to sort of lanes 8. So I know it can get a little bit conjecture around that. And obviously, if you back a horse on pace, you're probably disadvantaged. But I don't think at Randwick that was anything to do with the track. I think that was the wind down the side, and even more so in those 1,100-1,200 metre races. But I always suggest that every horse can get off the rails and get to the right part of the track. But when you've got rails in run on fire, not every single horse can get on rails. And I think it makes it a little bit dangerous when it is like that, because you see horses changing tactics. On the weekend, we didn't see one horse, I don't think, try to ride outside of it because there was this massive bias. They just road races like they should have. So I'd take them any day of the week. I thought they both played outstanding, and if anything, we can use that to review the races and find those winners moving forward. So that's the thing to take out of it. I guess you're not going to get a fairer track than that moving forward. So any horses disadvantaged on pace, back them over the next couple of weeks, Gannon, and you should be fruitful.
Yeah, hopefully everyone makes some form of sense of what I tried to spit out there before, because I certainly am confused by it. But what it does take us to is simply to this point. We now get to Rosehill. It's a good segue. It's going to be dry all week. We're on a good 4 track, and the rail's out 6 meters now. Yep. Now, unless for some reason they decide to leave the sprinklers on ridiculous amounts, we are going to see, which could happen. You just don't know. We're going to see a track that suits on pace runners over 11 and 1,200 meter races. Be prepared to back on speed horses. If you back and get back horses, you're just parting with your dough. You're just giving it away. So be warned. That's what you should expect. Dino, do you share that sentiment?
100%. I think that if you're going to write a rule book out for Sydney racing, Metro Racing, Rosehill, Randwick, Rosehill rail true and Randwick rail true, very fair. A little bit of rain, soft 5, soft 6, even more so suits horses off speed. Dry tracks, rail out, both Randwick and Rosehill. You want to be forward of midfield, and even more so at Rosehill, anytime the rail's out, dry track, 11, 1,200 metre shoot races, you pretty much no chance if you're not in the top 4 in running. So you got to take from the weekend and readjust your radar, I would say. And if you're going to back a back marker, wait till Saturday. Wait till you can see if they actually are running on. There's no point backing a juicy price on a Wednesday, get to Saturday, and you can't make any ounce of ground. So 100% agree with you, and it's so important over these next couple of weeks to figure out these tracks or have a little insight, if anything.
Yeah, I think my biggest rule of all these all-in markets is if you're going to take a price in an all-in market, you want to be taking a price of a horse that's sitting forward of midfield. Yeah, because if horses come out, that's advantage you.
And barriers just don't matter, because they're going to roll.
You know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Righto, let's kick off San Domenico Stakes Group 3, set weights and penalties for the 3-year-olds. Libertad, $4.50 favourite, courtesy of TAB, the Green Cafe. Kandinsky Abstract, 11's into $6, been very well backed. The Instructor, $4.50 out to $6 on the drift. If you don't mind, Barber, $8, Corniche, $8, Introducing, $8, Don Corleone, $11, Butch Cassidy, $15, and onwards and upwards we go out there. But Dino, kick off. What do you like in the San Domenico?
Yeah, a little bit of history or background of the race. The last 2 winners, Sweet Ride last year, was second up coming out of the Rosebud, first up. In the Congo 2 years ago, exact same profile, came out of the Rosebud and won the San Domenico second up, albeit that was at obviously Kembla Grange. Behind that, you had Anders, Exceedance, Graf, and Pariah. The trend with all of these is on pace and inside gates. Barrier 3, 2, 5, 1, 1. That's been the last 5 years. And a lot of those horses, probably bar Exceedance, have settled up on speed over the 1,100 metres at Rosehill. So I suggest that's a natural profile. Outside of the last 2 winners, Gano, the rest of the horses have been first up outside of Anders, who I think had a Wyong win. I think I can remember. It went from Wyong to and absolutely bolted. That was on a wet track. But it's a good addition this year. What I'm looking for, the profile that I'm looking for, I'm guessing it's very similar to you. I'm looking for a horse who can have good gate speed, fitness, settle up on speed, and have good fight on. I don't want to be backing anything that's going to be worse than midfield and running on. So I think you can sort of get rid of Cigar Flick out of that. A couple of other Don Corleones sort of trialling tomorrow, so not sure if that horse goes there. General Salute and Sovereign Fun both trialled this morning at Hawkesbury, so not sure if they go. But I think the one in the market at the moment who's on the drift is the Instructor. I was very critical of him first up, but deeper dive into that review, I think they went way too slow, allowed the back markers to get into the race. His last two sectional splits were near identical, which just tells me they didn't use his strength, which is his speed, and that's normally from the 6 to the 4. You can break those horses' hearts. And then the last 200 metres, you're absolutely clinging on for life, and it should be your slowest sectional. So second up, Waterhouse and Bot go from 15% first up to about 26% second up. He's going to lead him. As long as he draws a gate, I think the Instructor is the big one at the price. I think the best horse in the race is Kadinksi Abstract. He's obviously the full to Sunlight. He's going to get better over further, no doubt. And I think he's the Golden Rose horse. If you can match him speed-wise and sit handy enough over 1,100 metres at Rosehill, that's the big question mark. But I think for mine, the Instructor is the one I like early doors, Gannon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's only two horses I could possibly back early on. The Instructor being one and Introducing being the other. I think Introducing got the better of the Instructor last start. However, whoever finds the rails first out of those two will be the one that I want to back the most. So let's just wait and see until the draw comes out. But happy to just go with you there, Dino, and pundits can follow you and they're on the Instructor, and we'll just play it by ear when it comes to the barrier draw. If we had any info as to which one was actually, if one was going there or the other, but I think they're both heading there. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think both will head there, and that's the same with the Godolphin pair, Barber and Corniche. James was on SEN last week with us, and he suggested that they'll both accept. Barber's probably the other big one. He does have the tactical speed to land up there, but more so, if he draws wide, he's not a horse that's going to charge the front. He'll take his medicine. So Barrier's probably more so him. General Salute's an interesting horse. Got a lot of time for him. He's got tactical speed as well, but just don't know if they back up 2 trials. And he obviously trialled Monday. He has to race Saturday. He can do it, but they're not known as a stable that can do it. So interesting setup with him, but I just love the profile of these Waterhouse and Boston horses second up. I know I was very critical, but like I said, a deeper review of the Rosebud. It's rated really well. The last 4 editions, it's the second highest rating of them behind Palelu, who was a out-and-out Group 1 winner. So I think there's a big bounce back in the Instructor and Introducing. So I think we like those 2 types leading out.
Love it, mate. Let's go to the up-and-coming stakes. Group 3 over 1,300 metres. Group 3 quality, minimum weight 54 kilos, they're telling me here. And Cabulus gets in with 54.5 kilos. So didn't get the victory last start, but gets in pretty well at the weights this time around, which has got to be some advantage there, Dino. It's also come up $4.50 and then been well backed in $3.50 straight away. So a couple of smart punters there. I think that was $4.50 was a good price. $3.50 might be on the short side there. Then you got Le Vampires. Is that what we're running?
Yeah, Le Vampire or Le Vampires. Yeah, something like that.
Not sure that's how they pronounce it, but we'll run with that anyway. Griff $6. So Le Vampires $4.50, Griff $6, Tom Kitten $6, NCAP 11, Kintyre 11, and then a more 15, and a few others outside of that. Cafe Millennium 15. Interesting to see how that horse comes back this preparation. Probably not this time for me. I'll kick off here, Dino. I think Cabulus is the horse to beat in this race. You just got to weigh up whether or not you want to take $4.50, $3.50 better horse that may not settle in the first half. Not a futures, or so not an all-in futures betting prospect giving its race pattern. At the $3.50, at the $4.50, perhaps it was, but at $3.50, it's not. So I'll just wait and see what happens with the barriers. But I think it's probably the best horse in the race. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I think you can trust Cabulas's SP last start. Should have won the race. So trust that. A bit of a different setup here to the San Domenico. This is 1,300 metres, so they do go around a bend rather than a shoot start. So you still want to be forward of midfield, but I don't think it's as vital, as critical as the San Domenico over the 1,100 metres. So you could potentially look for a horse that's going to settle 1, 2, 3 pairs off and run on, which Cabulas will do. Le Vampires or Le Vampires comes out of obviously that dominant midweek win. The stable did this with Cabu to win the race last year, getting right down the minimum 53 kilos. Griff was good first up, but did have favours. And the one that I like is Tom Kitten. I think he's come back superb order. He's probably going to be forward of midfield, probably bang on midfield. His trials are great. I think he can be a 2,000 metre horse. And 1,300 metres first up, love the stable fresh. I think he'll be hard to beat here. Outside of that, I don't think it's a strong addition. NCAP's a horse who's been savage in the line. I wouldn't be surprised if he steps up, faster tempo, faster pace here, and can run over the top. But it's probably a horse that's lacking upside yet to break the maiden. So Tom Kitten for mine, early doors, but I think it's potentially a race to wait and see. I'm just looking at a paper and trying to find where a lot of this speed's going to come from, which I don't think there is much, which you sort of suggested, Cabulas as well. But it's potentially a lot harder than the San Domenico early doors. So if I had to lean, Tom Kitten, but I think I'll be waiting, Gannon.
Yeah, it's going to keep my powder dry. If Cabulas can draw 1, 2, or 3, then it looks like a fantastic bet. So let's just see what happens there with Cabulas, and we'll just chip away, keep our powder dry there. There is a horse in the Midway nominated. It's currently 22nd in the nominations there, Dino. A horse by the name of Celestial Fury, in with 54 kilos, just needs to gain a start. Gains a start, what do you reckon will happen there, mate?
Yeah, I think it'd go mighty close. I saw that Doyle saluted with his 8th Midway win on the weekend. So he's looking to go back-to-back Midways, and this could be his best Midway horse ever. But hopefully for us, Gano, for Louis, for everyone, we get to see the big boy, Celestial Fury there on Saturday. And anyone else in the race that's nominated, just scratch, please.
Yeah, just don't accept. It's pretty simple. And you did mention Louis. We remiss of me not to mention the great man early on, but he's actually at track work with Nathan Doyle now, just giving him the lowdown and how he wants to see Celestial Fury sort of turned over this week, and what the feed, and he's done the feed bin. He's just doing everything. That was after he was out partying with Drew Hutchison.
Yeah, Drew.
So he's had a big week, Lou. I think he's even on Sky. I was at Scone at some stage as well on STC today, but he's the everywhere man. Righto, let's turn our attention to Victorian racing, and we're going to go the Carolyn Stakes here, all in markets. Omni-Man, $3.50, $4.50 and $3.50, so some nice support there. Bellini Patina, $6 into $4. Might need some rain. I don't think there's much rain about down there to the back end of the week. Sai, horse that's had a big spruik on it after being pretty good in the winter. Interesting to see how it lines up. Might have to improve a length or so. I'm not sure. I'll be chiming into the $5 there. Sweet Ride, $6. And then Nahim Sahal, a horse that was scratched that was probably
really good first up.
Yeah, and was well in the market. And I think it was Benedetta was in that race.
In the
and they
last.
Scratched it. I'm suggesting probably scratched it for this. You got Snapper. And then Generation, hypothetical out there, is not a bad horse in its own right. Any thoughts here on the Carolyn Stakes, Dino?
Yeah, I struggle to bet at the Valley on race day, let alone on a Monday. So I won't be betting or chiming in early. A couple of thoughts on the race. The Omni-Man was probably dictated to last start. If he can find control of this race and it's any inkling of a leader's bias, he's the horse to be with. Only concern, I guess, with him, he's been up a long time, but shorter troops, his go. The Valley's his go. Bella Nipotina, I think she's come back good. Her jump outs have been really good, but she's probably a better horse, like you mentioned, with the cutout. But she does have a lovely record at the Valley. She loves that setup. Sai, interesting horse. Given a freshen off that last start win, she's a horse who could maybe progress through to sort of a couple of these sort of lower hanging fruit group races, listed races throughout the spring. So I think the top 3 in the market are the ones that will fight it out. But no real opinion this far out, Gano. Any idea of any help with you there?
Not at all. Absolutely no idea. I was pretty disappointed in just the way Omni-Man race last start. It didn't scream, get me back to the Valley. And I know there was, the circumstances on the day, and they just didn't scream like it screamed, get me back to Rosehill, rail out 6 meters.
Yeah.
As quickly as humanly possible, as quick as body. How quick can we get him back to Rosehill? Anyway, that is what it is. So no betting prospects for me there. But look, do keep an eye out. Make sure you do check out the articles on thegreattipoff.com. You can catch Dino and I on SEN doing the weekend review on Thursday mornings and catch that potty as well. We'll have all our tip staking plans available, so that's always easily accessible. Anything else for the week ahead, Dino? Any winners to be found Tuesday or Wednesday for the punters?
I think it was a really good race Wednesday. Race 1 there at the Kenzo. I love the track. I think there's a horse by the name of Macarena and a horse by the name of Lost in the first race. I think we could back both of those potentially for a winner. I think a couple of those horses in race 1 and race 2 there at Kenzo will have a little bit of a say in the spring for a couple of the good races. But outside of that, mate, it's a bit of a lull week this week. Next week, we obviously got the Memsey Stakes. We've got the Rosebud. Run to the Rose, which we'll see Shinzo back and a couple of other big types. So I think this is a little bit of a week to have a little breather, be very disciplined, and then the next couple of weeks it really does ramp up. But that's all for me. Anything for you, mate?
Well, they were racing down at Albury tomorrow, and I had six bets, and I was ready to borrow your private jet and fly on down and just have a couple of cold ones with Beery and cheer them a few winners. But they've moved to Narrandera now, so we've gone from a heavy 10, bottomless heavy 10. I thought I found winners everywhere, and now I'm struggling to find one. But I do have one for you. Race 5, number 7, Southern Highlands. This is for Beery, but it's $41 at the moment. It just needs, in my humble, and this has got. Mitch could completely pour cold water on this and disagree with me. In my humble, this horse needs a dry deck. It now goes to Narrandera instead of Albury, gets the dry deck. This is a horse I had no interest in at Albury. Now I'm keen to back at Narrandera, and you're getting $41. If we can somehow find a way to convince them to roll a little bit more forward, which I think they can with Jordan Mallion on from Barrier 8, at $41, let me tell you, that's not a bad little play there, Dino. So Narrandera race 5, number 7 will be my probably only play. If you wanted to squeeze an all-in, best all-in play, Dino, can you throw one at us?
Yeah, I think best all-in play would be the Instructor around $6 and potentially, I'll stick with the Instructor around $6. I think that's the way to go this far out. I think you'll keep drifting, and a lot of people will pot that first up run of the Rosebud. But deeper dive into it, I think it was really, really meritable, and I think the setup he'll love. So that's the best all-in play for me. Gannon, you?
Yeah, my best all-in play is Introducing, just because it's slightly bigger odds, and there wasn't too much between them. $8, $2.75, so you can have a unit each way on both, gamble responsibly, naturally, and you're going to get a small profit. And away we go. And then look, next week we're back. Bigger, better, stronger Group 1 racing returns. It'll be a bigger show. Louis may come back. Depends if the Roosters get up or the Fury gets up. If both lose or either lose, I suggest we probably won't see him for another week. But Dino, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you for your time. And until next week.
Thanks, mate. And thanks to all listeners. Get involved on the comments. Let us know what you like this week and next week. And if you've got any winners midweek. But thanks, Gannon. Appreciate it, mate.